spoke to someone on Saturday who's been listening to the pod.
All right.
It wasn't really a ringing endorsement. They said that when they were driving, they had to drive to Brighton. It was 6 hours, and it came on, and they listened to it, and I was like, "Oh right, okay." And they went, "Yeah." So and then I was in the office with someone else, and they're a United fan, and we just got the internet, so I put it on then as well. And I was like, "Right, yeah, okay." And at no point did he go, "And it was good."
And express an opinion.
Express an opinion either way.
Is that a polite way of? Is that a way of not wanting to say that it was bad?
I don't know. I don't think it is bad, but you know.
You could, you're never going to please everyone.
But also, he's a Sheffield United fan, so it's not really for him.
I once had some beef with a Sheffield United fan in a pub because
In Sheffield.
Yeah, two blokes were talking about Harry Maguire.
Yeah.
I think they were talking about England and how Harry Maguire should be starting or whatever. And I was
Evergreen conversation.
Well, I joined in. I was like, he's got to be playing. I'm a United fan, so I'm biased. And one of them was like, well, yeah, I'm a United fan as well, but he left us, didn't he? And I was like, oh no, sorry, Manchester United. And he just had a go at me. Told me to F off. Slam the door.
Yeah.
His mate did come over later and was like, sorry about him. We're not all like that. But,
I think
you shouldn't. I take for granted that United, and generally worldwide, United means Manchester United.
Yeah.
But in Sheffield, or probably Newcastle, or Leeds, United doesn't mean Manchester United.
Or Minnesota.
It might still mean Minnesota.
No. I think he's got the right to correct you and to say that that's not, that he's in the right for assuming you meant. He was in the right for assuming you meant Sheffield. But he shouldn't really get annoyed at you.
Yeah. Dad once had a conversation for quite a while with a Liverpool fan, both thinking that they supported the same team.
Nice.
But you can see why Dad might assume he was a United fan. It was in Manchester. But why would the other guy assume Dad was a Liverpool fan?
Dad is a very mank bloke.
Yeah.
Well, he's not very mank, but he is very mank. He would be annoyed if I said he wasn't very mank.
Yeah.
But he's
doesn't sound like John Cooper Clarke.
No. Although he's from Salford. Isn't he? I didn't stay very long at the Leaving Drinks because it was a tiny room. It was like the width of from like the door to the wall.
Right. Most rooms are the one door to the wall.
Well, it depends which wall. I pointed as well, but then they had a band on. And we were like, this room is no way near big enough for a band.
Yeah.
But then it was two blokes with acoustic guitars. Which were
you jealous that you didn't get the gig?
No. I mean, no. That hadn't occurred to me.
Were they professionals or were they?
They were
friends of the person who was having the drinks.
I mean, they were professional. They weren't full time.
Yeah.
They had all the gear. They were paid.
They weren't just a mate.
No. They were put on by the pub, I think, or maybe by him to play at his Leaving Drinks.
Right.
But we were sat way too close. It was uncomfortable, so we left.
Nice. I plugged the podcast sort of accidentally, but I couldn't escape it. Someone was like, "Oh, so what about the podcast then?" And I was like, "Oh God, I'm gonna have to tell it about it now." But we may have a few listeners. I mean, I should be more confident in plugging it. I shouldn't be reluctant to tell people about it.
Yeah,
it sort of defeats the object.
Yeah, I do have that where I'm like, I want people to listen, but I don't want to have to tell people to listen.
Yeah,
just want them to listen, but I never find out about them.
Yes. Well, if we've got any new listeners, thank you. Please stick around. Hello and welcome back to Red Army Reaction, where once again we've been forced to amend our recording schedule because of those bloody fixture schedulers.
The crooks at the Premier League.
Yeah. I mean, it's because we don't have
any
games
other
in midweek. Yeah. So they put a big team on a Monday. More people will watch the Monday game if United are on it, whereas people will watch the Sunday half for whoever it is.
Yeah. It makes sense.
Yeah.
From a business point of view, it's just annoying.
Yeah. We started this podcast the season where we've had loads of Monday games.
Yeah, and Everton away, it's not the most inconvenient we could have on a Monday night.
No.
Bournemouth away or Newcastle away would be slightly worse.
Yeah. Or Bournemouth having Newcastle away.
That would be much worse, yeah.
But, I mean, they've been sort of considerate to the away fans and stuff.
Yeah, they don't really care, but...
No, they can pretend that they have done.
Yeah.
Did you watch the game?
I did, right here. Yeah, it was good. I thought it was a bad game.
Yeah, it was an awful game, I thought.
I think, I don't want to sound like Ty or the new guy who also complained about the weather.
Julian.
But yeah, the pitch looked really wet.
Yeah,
Like,
we mustn't forget that it's been raining.
Like the ball wasn't moving well at all.
Yeah.
So I think it made for quite an ugly game anyway. And better teams than us would have played better on an ugly pitch.
Probably.
But it was difficult to get a real rhythm up, and there was a lot of misplaced passes.
Yeah, from both sides. The first half there was very little quality of any kind.
Yeah.
We had the chance with Ahmad. It was a bit of a half chance, but scrappy.
Yeah, I think it added up to a chance in total.
Yeah, and it ended up being quite close to going in.
Yeah. But it was not... There wasn't a great sweeping move, really. It was a couple of missed blocks, and it was a bit of a mess, that game. Yeah. Certainly in the first half.
Yeah, not one that'll live long in the memory. And it always felt like it didn't... Some 0-0s, you think once there's a goal, there'll be a few. But it certainly didn't feel like that. It felt like it would be settled either way, probably. Yeah. Once it settled into being 0-0, it seemed like it would be 0-0 or 1-0 either way.
Yeah. It was quite an interesting game to sort of analyse without there being a huge amount of quality. I think it was... I'm not going to use the word red flag because
that's 2 words.
2 words. I'm going to use the phrase red flag. I do think there are worrying patterns emerging slightly from Michael Carrick's. Now we have getting to a slightly larger sample size. I think we've only had 2 changes to the starting 11, which is good in some ways, and you want a settled 11, but it didn't work against West Ham. It didn't work particularly well against Fulham, and the only changes we've made or we've been forced into.
Yeah,
so you have to imagine if we hadn't had those injuries, he might have played the same 11 for 6 games in a row.
Yeah, is part of that down to the squad we've got, and we've got a couple of injuries, which means you are quite limited.
Reasonably limited, but not limited in terms of, I think he could have... Well, we don't know if he would have chosen to play Euro today. I think he should have chosen to play Euro today.
Yeah, based on the West Ham game.
Yeah, we don't really know that. I think he probably should have favoured Cunha over Dorgu for the Fulham game. I don't know if we would have done that.
Anyway.
But I think not starting Šeško when that front 3 didn't work against West Ham to then stick with it for this game, which was always going to be thematically quite similar, I think is a little worrying.
Yeah, but the argument with Šeško is he's doing really well. He might not be scoring this many goals if he was starting.
Yeah.
He has started games in the past and done less than he's done in these games when he's come on.
Yeah.
So it's working well for Šeško, him coming on.
Yeah, and I think that's valid, and also I will say, because the one thing that you don't want is a manager who never learns and never learns from his mistakes. And I think he did learn in that he brought Šeško on a lot earlier.
Yeah. And
that allowed him to grow into the game and wasn't, and got his goal and
a lot earlier than the 96th minute.
Yeah. So I'm not going to say that Carrick's, not adapting to each game because he did make a different decision. But I think when the starting 11 isn't working and you've got a sub, obviously it might not work starting Šeško, but I'd like to see him trying a little more and trying a few different ideas.
Yeah. And we'll say this probably more when we look ahead to the next 2 games, but we would like to see Šeško start now. There's an even stronger case after last night.
Yeah.
Šeško starting. There was already quite a strong case given he scored the winner against Fulham when he came on, scored an equaliser against West Ham. A lot of people were saying he should be starting the next game. Now he's done it again. It gets stronger every time, and it'll be harder for him to leave him out.
Yeah. But Šeško, fair to him, came out after the game and said he's not frustrated or irritated. He said he wants to play and he'll play whatever the manager lets him. And because obviously, for his point of view, he scored 6 goals in 6 games or something since 6 goals in 8 games since Amrim left.
Yeah,
he's come on a long way, and Carrick's tutelage and Carrick's use of him is favouring him massively. So I can see why he's not complaining.
Yeah, but and he's a young player. There will be seasons, you would hope, all being well, that there are seasons where he's undroppable for United and he starts every single game.
Yeah,
and this isn't going to be one of them.
No, this doesn't have to be one of them. No, but I thought the first half really wasn't that much to talk about.
No, not much to write home about.
I think first half, I think it was the first time we've seen Mainu and Casemiro both have a poor game at the same time. So under Carrick, Mainu's been pretty impervious so far. Casemiro, it's odd when he hasn't played for. You'd expect his sort of time in his career he would benefit from a break, but he always if he'd been out injured or been come back after suspension, he always looks really rusty the first game he comes back.
Yeah.
And I thought Gay and Irabunam both didn't outclass us, but outworked us in that midfield.
Yeah.
And
that's what Everton are good at. They're a hard working side. And
it worked. Well, it worked to a degree. They managed to limit us. They weren't really trying that much progressively.
No.
They were, and we'll come on to their attempts to score in the second half, I think. But from open play, they weren't bothered really, especially with that midfield too. Dewsbury Hall and Barry were the outlets.
Yeah.
And they didn't achieve a huge amount, but they did manage to frustrate us. And our front four, nobody really had much impact in the first half.
Yeah, I think they would have been the happier of the two sides at half time.
Yeah,
because they would be happy with a 0-0 in that game, I think, judging by the way they played.
Yes.
So they probably had a similar game plan to what they had at Old Trafford, which they then went down to 10 men, but that didn't change the game plan in the slightest, and they ended up winning 1-0. They were probably going for a similar kind of game, and they'd managed to achieve a similar game in terms of not being a spectacle at all.
Yes.
But second half, it opened up a bit.
Yeah, it always does. I think Everton's centre halves were getting tired because they played two old, slow centre halves.
Yeah.
And we brought Šeško on, and I'm not going to say he changed the game, but he really does give us another dynamic.
Yeah.
There are a lot of situations where Mbuemo would rather play out wide rather than through the centre, and when he does that, there just isn't a presence in the centre. And Bruno and Casemiro can make those runs into the box late, but there's nobody to occupy the defenders.
Yeah, you need someone there.
Yeah. And Šeško does bring that, and I'm just glad he came on. I think he came on at the right time.
For the right player, probably, as well, in Ahmad.
Yeah, that's who I would have picked to come off. I think he's had a frustrating couple of games, Ahmad. I think he does better against better sides, I think.
Yeah.
When he's able to get a run at people a little bit more and get his momentum up a bit quicker. When the defence is sitting in or there's 2 or 3 players in front of him, he can often look frustrated quite quickly.
Yeah.
And I think starting on the bench would benefit him a little bit. I think
if we're calling for Šeško to start, I think
he'd be the one I would take out. Yeah. And Šeško came on and was a different element and exactly what we needed.
What we brought him on to do in terms of the shape of the team and then getting the goal, which came from the best bit of quality we saw in the game, which was the Cunha pass
to
Mbuemo. And it's another one of them goals that we talked about of the sort of classic United counter-attacking goals.
Yeah.
Like Cunha's against Arsenal or Mbuemo's against City, where you just, that's the kind of goals we used to score all the time under Fergie.
Yeah. All 3 signings linking up,
yeah.
which some people have referenced.
Yeah.
The pass from Cunha is exceptional, and thankfully they're playing quite slow centre halves, so it allowed Mbuemo to get that bit of separation. And when it was on the wide shot at the start with Šeško sort of 6 yards behind Tarkowski, your brain just sort of automatically thinks, right, well, Mbuemo's on his own here,
he's
because
gonna have to really hold it up to get.
Yeah. But then by the time Šeško gets to the box, Tarkowski's 6 yards behind him.
Yeah,
he's so
unbelievable, the speed from Šeško.
Yeah, that's what his game is sort of built around. Obviously, he's a very technical player, but he has that athleticism that allows him to play in that situation, and it really worked. And he just had so much more time. And if there's a defender on him there, we've seen where he can sort of snatch at shots, but he really had all the time in the world to place that exactly where he wanted it.
Yeah, and Mbuemo did really well. It wasn't on a plate for Šeško, but he timed the pass. He held it up the right length of time,
Yeah.
timed it perfectly, weighted it perfectly, so that Šeško could come on without really breaking stride and
Just pass it into the
into
corner.
the corner. It was just great to watch, which is the only thing that was great to watch in the game.
Yeah, it was. And he's like you say, he scored off the bench for the last couple of games. He's really come into his own a bit this season.
Yeah, because it was starting to get a bit. He started slowly under Amorim. He got a couple of goals and then stopped again.
Yeah,
And it was starting to be sort of reminiscent of what we saw last season with Højlund. And people did start to question whether there was a player in there and whether we'd wasted our money.
yeah,
And it's still too soon to say whether he'll go on to justify the price tag, but it's so much clearer now that he is a good player.
yeah.
You can see that there are things he's really good at, and hopefully we can then nurture that.
Yeah. It's another goal from a substitute and another second half goal that Carrick has massively favoured.
Yeah.
We've had 3 goals from substitutes under Carrick, and we had 2 under Ruben Amorim.
Wow.
One of which was Ahmad against Brentford, which
Right.
was a consolation.
Yeah.
And the other one was Eriksson scoring the penalty that Johnny Evans gave
so it was
him.
1 under Amorim the whole time, not just this season.
2 under Amorim the whole time.
Wow.
Yeah. That one doesn't even count because it was a charity penalty at the end of a game.
It's basically a testimonial game.
So I think if you want a sign of if you do want to talk about red flags, I think none of your changes ever scoring a goal that means anything.
Most of them were centre backs.
Yeah, is a real issue, and Carrick has shown. Obviously, it's one of those where he's got weapons off the bench because he's holding players back from the first team, but he has those options. He's allowing himself these options off the bench.
Yeah, and Cunha, when he came on in the first 2 games, no one was saying he should have started. Because he provided a different element from the bench that we needed at that point.
Yeah, and that's what Šeško's doing at the moment, and it's working. We've got 16 points out of 8, possible 18.
Yeah.
Again, not to rag on the previous manager. It took the previous manager 16 games to get 16 points.
Right.
And Carrick's done it in 6. There are very clear signs of progress.
Yeah. You mentioned the red flags or slightly concerning signs, but there are a lot of really good signs as well.
Yeah,
the
definitely.
results are unbelievable, and you can point to the West Ham and Everton performances not being stellar or glittering, amazing to watch, but 4 points in those 2 games is a lot better than we're used to. They're both tricky away games. West Ham might be 18th in the table, but they're playing well at the minute. They're in good form.
Yeah.
They make it really difficult for you at the minute.
What was their result of the weekend?
They drew 0-0 with Bournemouth.
Yeah.
So they're hard to beat at the minute, which we didn't beat them, but I think we'll look back on that as a good result. And Everton away, they might be in poor form at home, but again, they make it difficult to beat them.
Yeah.
We've struggled at both of those grounds historically.
Well, we've not been to one of them historically.
We've struggled away at both of those teams recently.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a much different conversation, a very different conversation to be having. The sort of the limit. You talk about the limitations of the manager when you've got 6 games and 5 wins and a draw.
Yeah.
Rather than the inverse, which is you are looking for positives in the manager
trying to find
when
the
you've
positives.
got atrocious form.
The positives are much more obvious to see, and you have to seek out the negatives.
Yeah, we've not lost in 10 now, I think, in the league.
Yeah.
And another clean sheet as well last night. I think that will go down as one of my favourite United goalkeeping performances of the last few years. Certainly post De Gea.
And that, I think, if De Gea had that game, no one would say anything.
I don't think so.
I think it shows that the standard of United goalkeeper has been lowered in the last couple of years.
Yes.
Because he made one really good save, I think, from Michael Keane.
Yeah.
But he was just so solid, which is not what we're used to.
Yeah. I think, like you say, it's because of the contrast. I think he wasn't doing the things that made a great De Gea performance,
No.
like, the sort of saving from point blank range and seeming impossible to beat.
Amazing reflexes and stuff.
But the way he was, at his age, and he's new to the league, and it's like you say, it's a tough crowd and a tough atmosphere. Weather was against us, and some of the catches, the Ghana free kick, I
Yeah,
could
yeah.
not believe he caught that. Like, every keeper in the world would just parry that around the post and say, job done, and he catches it.
Yeah.
And it's just,
And the one right at the end from Tyreek George, it was dipping and bouncing, and he just got down perfectly and held it, didn't let go at all.
absolutely no drama, and it's exactly what we needed after the last 2 years.
Calm head in the net.
If you ever want, a really rubbish time, there are compilations of Onana mistakes, and they're not like regular goalkeeper mistakes.
No.
Who was it? Was it Bournemouth or maybe Gibbs White? There's one that's just right at him, and he just moves out of the way, and it's like everyone. I remember in the ground, everyone was thinking it had taken a deflection, and it just doesn't. It's just like straight in the middle of the net, and he just sort of missed.
Yeah.
I don't know what.
And there was Nottingham Forest where I think it was Awonyi, where he was just running through on goal, and all he did was sort of move his body a little bit, and Onana just fell over, and he just managed to tap it in.
Yeah, like he's not the best goalkeeper in the world. I don't think anyone's saying that.
No.
Lammens, he's got weaknesses in his game, and we've seen that in certain types of situations that he faces. But he's a big, tall bloke with big hands who catches the ball quite a lot.
Yeah.
And we saw in the sort of Everton had 11 corners, 12 corners in that second half, and I don't think it's unreasonable to say that we would have conceded maybe 5 goals with Bayindir in goal.
Yeah, well, Mark Goldbridge, sorry to give him airtime, but he said if Onana was in net, we would have lost 10-0, which I think is a slight exaggeration.
Yeah, bit harsh to take the goal off us.
Yeah, we would have conceded a goal at least.
Yes.
We wouldn't have had a clean sheet if Onana was in net.
Absolutely. And
we didn't have many.
No, we know. And, this is our first away clean sheet of the season.
Yeah. Our last away clean sheet was against Leicester, which says all you need to know.
Yeah, it was a really assured performance, a very mature performance. Lots of, the corner technique that Everton deployed is basically designed to stop the goalkeeper from punching it.
Yeah.
And he still managed to punch a high number of them. And when they've got that many players right in front of the goalkeeper, if the goalkeeper can get a paw on it, then you clear out 8 Everton players.
Yeah.
Then you've got a much better chance of getting the ball away. It's not like...
And if it goes to an Everton player, even then, it's going to be hard for them to score because all of their own players
a lot of players were in between them and the goal. So, yeah, it was really, it's just a safe pair of hands.
Yeah.
That's all you need
is.
sometimes
Yeah.
at the moment, yeah.
But that's 3 clean sheets in 6 games under Carrick, which is, anyone would be happy with that.
A marked improvement.
Yeah.
Especially
And
the opposition, we've played the top 2 of the top 2 in that time.
Yeah.
So
it's clear the defenders have a lot more trust in it. And everyone does. Everyone's a lot less panicked when it goes to him. And then that gives us the opportunity in this sort of game, a tricky away game, where we can stay in the game and keep it a 0-0.
Yeah.
And just try and nick the game 1-0, which you have to do sometimes. But you can't do that when you're incapable of keeping a clean sheet because you've got a clown in there.
Yeah, there are so many games, and it's not. I'm not going to use this to excuse Amorim, but there are a lot of games under Amorim where we'd be playing okay, about as well as the opponent, but all of our chances would get saved, and then they would have one chance, and it would go straight through the keeper's hands, and you're like, I don't know. You can't build on that. You can't progress. You can't. There's no platform on which to build. Whereas if you can say, okay, well, we're going to try and be progressive and keep the ball at that end of the pitch, and if they break, we'll probably be fine.
Yeah.
Then you can do that. But as soon as you lose that faith, then everyone plays 10 yards further back because they don't trust that they're going to be able, don't trust themselves to concede a chance without conceding a goal.
Yeah. And then you have to score 3 goals every game in order to win, which is not reliable.
No. A 1-0 win. When was our last 1-0 win?
It was Newcastle, probably.
Yeah,
Boxing
true, yeah.
Day. But that was a clean sheet where Lammens did what was asked of him.
Yeah, and they had lots of corners.
Yeah, we didn't have many with Onana or Bayindir in that, I don't think.
No.
1-0s.
Tony Cotton has been doing some press this week,
Right.
who's United's chief goalkeeping scout.
Oh, right. Who am I thinking of? Tony Cottee.
Yes.
He used to play for Everton, so that
Right.
I thought that's who you were talking about.
And he's come out and basically said that it's the sign. He hadn't played a lot of senior football, Lammens,
Yeah.
but the that can sort of inform you a little bit as well, because he'd only played 30 senior games, but he looked assured and looked unflappable almost. And it's the transfer department trusting the scouting department is something we haven't seen anywhere near enough of. And
overruling the manager.
Yeah.
And saying, you might want Emi Martinez, but this player is a better signing for what we can afford and will just be a better acquisition all round. It's
the sign of and the manager didn't enjoy that being part of that process, and that was an issue. That friction from the manager is probably fed into his eventual demise. But I think they've been vindicated in that choice.
Absolutely.
I don't think Emi Martinez. I think this season Emi Martinez may have saved more goals than Lammens would have saved, perhaps this season. You don't know. And Watkins may have scored more goals than Šeško scores this season.
Yeah,
he hasn't in a Villa team that he was already in, but he may well have been more ready to go. But the club comes first, and we have said with regards to hiring managers, but also definitely much more so regards to hiring players, we can't afford any more expensive mistakes. We just don't have the headroom for it. And Emi Martinez definitely less so, I think, but Ollie Watkins definitely had the potential to be expensive mistakes. And I think they were, I'm not going to say dodged bullets, but last night I think we saw the transfer strategy worked, and the balance between established quality and developing prospects was struck quite well as well.
And the example I always use, I think I got it from Carl Anker, is of a manager wanting a certain player and being told they're signing someone else instead, is that Jurgen Klopp wanted to sign Julian Brandt from Dortmund. He'd seen him in the academy when he was at Dortmund, and he was the winger he wanted to be his starting right winger. And the club said, we're not getting him, but we can get Mo Salah from Roma instead. And that's who we're signing.
Yeah.
And, that's obviously an extreme example where it's worked really well.
Yes.
But sometimes you do need to overrule the manager and trust your own scouting and your overarching plans for the squad.
Yeah.
Which we haven't done. We could have told Erik ten Hag probably 50 players that we could have signed instead of Anthony for less money that would have been a better signing.
Yeah.
But we didn't.
No. And, having people who have the credibility to say that, I think Wilcox has been criticised for his CV in a way because he's not done this job at a big club before.
Yeah.
But Vivell has worked at some of the biggest clubs in the world.
With the best recruitment.
With has a solid track record of recruitment and can probably throw his weight around in those meetings a little bit and say, I do know what I'm talking about and I can prove it. And it's, these seems to have been vindicated in this summer at least.
Yeah. And I think anyone, you have to get to that level, you have to back yourself. But I think previously we had people like Ed Woodward who thought they were really good and weren't actually.
Yeah, and that's always the risk of moving people from other industries. Ed Woodward was probably not a dreadful hire as CEO because of his financial background.
Yeah, he did a lot with sponsorships and things. And got us a lot more revenue that way. But
yeah, and I think he probably gets too much credit for that, given the growth of the Premier League.
Yeah,
I don't think we outperform the market too much, but the issue was him being in charge of football decisions when his CV and any of his achievements were not in a footballing sense. He
didn't have any football on his CV before we appointed him.
So I think getting, it's looking like 4 out of 4 from the market, and last night we saw all 4 of them.
Yeah.
I think Mbuemo's had not a brilliant couple of games. I think he looks a little lost when he plays centre forward against a settled back four. He's
not throwing his weight around and like challenging centre halves for headers and stuff.
No,
he's not that kind of centre.
He'd rather play in other areas of the pitch.
Yeah,
if there's not space there, he's not going to occupy them as a traditional number 9 would.
Yeah.
But this is the benefit of having versatile forwards: is we can have Mbuemo go out to the right and get the assist for that goal because he can play rangy. And he doesn't. But then we need the manager to empower the players who can, and adapt situationally, which we haven't seen enough of from Carrick yet, I don't think.
Yeah. We've had those two games were quite similar, Everton and West Ham, I think. The first halves of those two games were very similar, I would say. And we've got 4 points from them. That's good looking at those two games, but now with games like Crystal Palace at home coming up, you would hope for a return to a better performance as well as a result.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we'll be looking for against Palace. They're in dreadful form.
Yeah, they scraped past Wolves, who had 10 men at home. So
I think they've got 2 wins in their last 15, 16 games, and that was, like I say, Wolves again with 10 men, and Brighton, who were in similarly dreadful form.
Yeah.
In that time, they've played. Are they Bosnian?
Yes,
team
they are from Bosnia,
and they didn't win that.
No.
So
Tough place to go.
Yeah, but you should still be winning.
Yeah. Should we talk about Everton's corners? We've had a similar discussion after we played Arsenal. And clearly, this is from the Arsenal playbook because it works really well for Arsenal. This sort of line out from corners where you just put everyone on the goal line.
Yeah,
that's seemingly a relatively reliable way of scoring goals from corners. Just creating that chaos, stopping their goal. Well, trying to stop their goalkeeper from doing anything. But it's not football, is it?
No, it's dreadful to watch. I can imagine it's dreadful for the home fans, the Everton fans. They're not.
Yeah.
That's their grand plan to score against United, who haven't been that impressive in this game.
And to hope they can just block all of our players.
Yeah, the Arsenal are sort of indicated in doing it because they score loads of set piece goals and they're top of the league. Everton don't score that many set piece goals and they're in a reasonable position in the league for where they should. They're quite happy with their position in the league. But we've scored a lot of goals from set pieces this season, but our set pieces I don't think they look like that. Like we try. I'm not saying we're the sort of honest, hard-working team and other teams, the saviours of football as we like to perceive ourselves, but there's no guile, there's no skill,
there's no joy in that, is there? No magic.
No, like if that is that what you're not going to go to the pub and talk about the great goal you scored from a corner. A great.
Well,
you can have a great goal from a corner. You can.
Yeah.
That you can't doing that.
I think United fans have probably reminisced about 2 goals.
Yeah, a couple. Yeah,
corners before.
But if that and obviously if that game had been Beckham puts it on the edge of the 6-yard box and there's 8 United players and it bounces off Schmeichel's arse and goes in.
Yeah.
We're still celebrating the win.
We won away at Juventus with a goal that was under Mourinho.
Yeah.
With a goal that was a long free kick that hit about 4 players and went in, and that was a last-minute winner. Well, I still celebrated it. I didn't think, a bit of a crap goal, but
but you might not have a poster of it on your wall if it's.
Well, it was a group game, but Spurs, I'm sure, have reminisced about the goal they scored in the Europa League final. That was a crap goal.
Have they though?
Short. They don't. Not in the same way, but it doesn't matter.
No, I know.
Probably.
The quality of the goal doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. But
when it's every week, and that's your best hope, not just you happen to score a goal like that, but that's what you're trying to do.
Yeah. And I said a couple of weeks ago, I think the great strength of football is that it doesn't usually take a regulatory change to fix these sorts of issues.
Yeah.
Like, there's been 1 or 2 in the history of football that have majorly changed.
Yeah,
like
the
pass back rule, changed the offside rule, things that are basically they've been forced into doing because there's no mechanism.
People are exploiting the current rules.
Yeah, and I think maybe modern throw-ins are reaching that straight stage where I think Ange Postecoglou put it well. He was on the overlap or stick to football, and he said, I don't think when they drew up the rules to football, they wanted high quality chances created regularly with your hands. This just doesn't feel right.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And they might not have conceived about the ball was a lot heavier then, and the turf was a lot worse, and the players weren't as strong and didn't spend 6 hours a day in the gym, so they weren't creating high quality chances with their hands, but the game has moved to such a position where the people are, and maybe some sort of regulatory change could be brought in to fix that. I don't know what that would be, but I think with corners, I feel like somebody should be able to figure this out and say, well, if there must be, because there's always trade-offs. If you've got 8 players in our 6-yard box, there must be somewhere where you haven't got enough players.
Yeah, so the other team can exploit that, and then it stops teams from doing it. Like how players started putting free kicks under the wall when
the wall would jump. Yeah.
So then, we'll just lie a man down behind the wall, and that'll stop them exploiting us that way.
Yeah.
And we didn't need a rule change to say you can't go under the wall.
Yeah, so I'm still hopeful that someone will figure it out. And I think people have said, well, you can just leave more players upfield, because then if the keeper does get a hand on it, then you're massively exposed.
Yeah.
But with the quality of delivery and the quality of, well, not the quality, but the sort of impact that the opposition forwards can have, it's very difficult to reliably exploit that in the opposite direction.
Might take the chance and say, well, if we've got 5 players in their 6-yard box and they've only got 2, surely we're going to score.
Yeah.
So then that makes teams reluctant to leave men upfield.
But I remain hopeful that football can fix its own problems as it has a history of doing.
Football will heal itself.
Yeah.
As an Everton fan, you must be frustrated at times with the sort of style of play, probably, but specifically in that game, everyone was getting frustrated with another corner where they're going to just put all their players on the line.
Yeah,
the referee had to stop them about 5 times before the corner had come in because there was too much pushing and shoving going on. As an Everton fan, would you not think, why didn't we try something different from one of these corners? We've had 11 of them now. Are we just going to do the same thing again and their keeper's going to catch it?
And Garner's a good delivery from a dead ball. I feel like the thing you're sacrificing is, the sort of the big Maguire header where he gets a 5-yard run and can get a load of power on it and power it into the top corner. That doesn't happen when you are 3 yards out from goal. No. The best case scenario is it sort of hits you and goes in. I feel like alternating and allowing, they've got big players, Michael Keane and James Tarkowski and Barry up front. They've got players who are a nuisance and can
throw the weight around.
When you have a load of movement, that's when opportunities can arise as well. Yeah,
and when United have dealt with the first few, our players are sort of probably thinking, right, well, we know how to deal with this. Same again. No mistakes. And then they did every single time.
Yeah, I enjoyed, and now that we've won, I enjoyed Lenny Yoro getting booked for being pushed into the net. I thought that was a particularly odd decision.
Tarkowski, I thought he was going to book Maguire because after Tarkowski threw Yoro into the net, Maguire then shoved Tarkowski. So I was going to book both of them. But I mean, it must be difficult as a referee when all the players are there. You can't tell who's doing what, really, and you probably sometimes take the path of least resistance and think, I'll just book them both. Yeah. But I don't know what needs doing, because for a long time, goalkeepers were overprotected from that kind of situation. Yeah. And if someone jumped near the goalkeeper, it would be a free kick. But now it seems to have gone very far the other way, where everyone can jump on the goalkeeper and he's not getting a foul for it.
Yeah, and the goalkeeper doesn't have a divine right to come and punch the ball, but I feel like he should be allowed, like, if he wants to try and jump and punch the ball, and you are not trying to get the ball, but just trying to stop him from punching the ball, that should be penalised more than it is being.
And Bayern, for all his faults, he probably was fouled for some of the goals where he flapped to the ball from corners. He should have done better anyway, despite what the defenders were doing. But, really, there should be a bit more... Like you say, when they're not trying to get the ball, they're just trying to prevent you from getting it.
Because it means that the only goalkeepers who can flourish are the ones who are already massive and strong. And we sort of moved away from that a little bit with maybe some overprotection, but goalkeepers who were more agile and nimble and cat-like, you might say, just can't really compete in this market because they're just going to get bullied. They're just going to get wiped out every corner.
Yeah, by dog-like defenders.
Yeah.
But as with the Arsenal game, I'm very glad that we got the 3 points we won, against the team, the anti-football team. And we scored a great sweeping counter-attacking move. So, football won once again.
Yes, it did indeed.
I also liked Cunha having a go at Garner after winding him up after it had gone out for a goal kick. And that's what Cunha does. He's a wind-up. And when you're winning, that's very enjoyable. He's one of them that's probably really annoying when he plays for a team that's not yours. But you love him when he plays for you, and he plays for us. So
Yeah, it was really annoying when he played for a team that wasn't us, and he scored direct from a corner to tie all of these threads together.
Yeah,
that was very annoying.
Yes, yeah. In the week where we conceded 2 goals direct from corners with 2 different goalkeepers.
Yeah.
So I don't know how many of those Everton's corners would have gone straight in with Bayandere or Inanna or even both in that.
Yeah, they'll probably just run into each other like itchy and scratchy and just end up in a big heap.
Yeah. But yeah, like I say, I'm glad that we were able to score a proper goal and win the game.
Yeah, and there are always these games where I think sometimes you turn up, you think this is horrible, we're not playing well, we'll take the 3 points and get out of here.
Yeah.
And you can't play that like that every week, because we saw last week that was one of those games, and they got the goal. So you can't just sometimes you need to be more expansive and try and blow teams away. But every once in a while, it's okay to sort of take a result when you're not at your best and move on. And it's all about the context of the season, I think. And we'll know more by the end of the season. And I think again, this will go down as we weren't great, but we got the win.
And the results have been really good throughout Carrick's tenure. The performances have been up and down, but while you're still getting the results, people can't say too much about the performances, I don't think.
No, and certainly not in the moment. I think they can. It will come into consideration again when it comes to appointing the permanent manager.
Because he's the interim and we don't know what the future will be.
Yeah.
But if he was the permanent manager,
you wouldn't be saying
you
second.
couldn't have many complaints, really. Yeah.
No. So it'll be something they have to take into consideration, is the performances and the, and I think we were thinking maybe when Carrick came in that we would be sort of pinning it on good performances, and the highlights of the remainder of the season might be, a few good performances rather than the default being play well, win, and the sort of the standout games being the sort of poor performances. I think that Carrick has changed his own bar by which he's measured by getting 5 wins in his first 6 games. I think he's being held to a much higher standard than someone would have been would have been expected when he came in. Yeah. I don't think anyone would have been saying, well, we need to play well and win every week, but now everyone would be saying, well, we can play well and win, and we can play not well and win, so we're expecting to win basically every game.
Yeah.
And that's Carrick's own work that's done that.
Yeah.
So we can't really punish him for it.
No.
Looking at the teams around us, it was looking like a reasonable weekend, a reasonably positive weekend. We got a draw for Chelsea.
Yeah. At home against Burnley, which is
one
you'd expect them to win.
And a draw for Villa.
Yeah.
Which was also a good, we're now 3 points behind Villa.
Yeah. We don't play them as well.
Yeah. The only fly in the ointment being the dreadful win from Liverpool
at Forest.
Yeah, what's it called? The City Ground. At the City Ground.
It's a forgettable stadium name.
Yeah. They're not even called Nottingham City.
No, but they're in a city. Yeah, I think it's because Nottingham Forest represent the city of Nottingham compared to Notts County,
which represent
the county of
Hampshire. That makes sense. It was an awful game that Forest were the better side in, I think.
Yeah, they were.
And I mean, I was really annoyed when they got the winner, the first winner, and then I couldn't believe it had been disallowed.
Yeah,
but it was
the right decision. It came off his elbow.
You can see from the pace that it comes back that it hasn't sort of. If it hits in the side of his back, it's not going to come rocketing off. It's clearly hit the point of his elbow.
Yeah,
and all Forest. I thought Forest might win it. I was like, they can do this, and then they scored an even jammier goal.
Liverpool. That's what they were doing at the start of the season. Scoring these crappy goals in the last minute in games that they've not really done enough to win. And that was so nearly disallowed as well, which would have been brilliant.
I mean, I'm not entirely convinced by the semi-automated offside because it might be that they're using a different frame, but the position of Iona's foot doesn't really look like the same position of his foot in the still.
The actual pitch. Yeah.
It looks like because I think he's sort of taking a step, but they've got his foot like completely at a 90-degree angle. Is that okay? you can't see that on the YouTube, but it doesn't really tally with me. But I'm not going to get conspiratorial about
supposedly
it.
I can't remember what paper it was reporting that there's people at Premier League clubs are not very happy with the semi-automated offside technology because it's been brought in to be quicker and more accurate.
Yeah.
And it hasn't really been substantially either of those things than the VAR drawing the lines.
Yeah.
The thing is that there was the Liverpool Spurs one where it was given as offside. They looked at it and did the lines and they saw that it was actually quite clearly onside. But then the goal, they said check complete, and the referee then stuck with the on-field decision. But the way they've counteracted that is the referees when you watch the ref cam, the referees announce every single decision.
Yeah.
They say, right, on-field decision is goal, on-field decision is goal kick, on-field decision is corner, whatever.
Yeah.
So that's how they get around that. So the semi-automated offside technology hasn't really changed anything.
It's the sort of, it's like a distilled version of the VAR debate. The whole reason for VAR coming in was to be more accurate, and it never really was that more accurate. It was just a bit inconvenient. And now they've been like, right, well, we've got this new technology that we're going to have on top of VAR that are going to be more accurate.
Yeah.
And it's still not that much more accurate than VAR, but also more inconvenient if it's getting things wrong.
Yeah, because when you compare that to when goal line technology was brought in, that's been wrong. The system has sort of glitched or not been able to do it about twice. In 15 years they've been using it, whereas this seems to get freaked out if there's too many players about all the time and they have to do it manually anyway, or it takes forever.
Yeah, it's and this doesn't count as moaning about VAR, which we said we're going to do less of.
About offside technology.
Yeah, this is a separate debate.
We're saying leave it to the VAR.
Yeah, bring back VAR. That's what we should be at. That's where we But yeah, again, it's one of them results where if Liverpool had won this 3-0, you'd go, well, fair enough.
Yeah,
but
that's what you expected.
Yeah, like, when City only just beat. I'm going to change my example because I don't want to talk about City being that team. But when a team you're expected to wins, it's great, it's fine, you just move on. But when, like, if Arsenal had like nicked a winner against Wolves when it went to 2-2. Like if they'd won that 2-0, everyone would have moved on. But because they got so close to not winning it really
like
hurts
Liverpool
a lot
were really
more.
Seconds away, and they had the late winner that was then ruled out. It was annoying, and Vitor Pereira was clearly absolutely fuming about it because you would be. You thought you're getting a good, solid result, a good, decent performance in your first home game to something to build on, and then Liverpool go and do that. Do
you think the relegation debate is probably the most interesting we've had in a long time?
Yeah, it is, definitely.
Unexpected teams are being drawn into it.
Yeah, I think if I had to predict it now, I would say I think Forest will go down.
Yeah.
That's not changed. That was what I thought when, like, towards the end of Sean Dyche's time there, and before they got the new manager. They've done quite well in his first two games, Pereira, but currently I think it's out of, you would say, West Ham, Forest, Spurs, maybe Leeds or maybe Palace might be drawn into it.
I think it's those three that we're mainly talking about.
So I would go for Forest currently, but I would love to see Spurs go down. And they're in genuinely.
Yeah,
There is no caveat to put on the fact that they're in a relegation battle.
Yeah, they were atrocious against Arsenal, really. Like,
we forgot to talk about Thomas Frank getting sacked on last week's episode.
Yeah.
But, they don't seem to have improved much.
No, and they had the added incentives of this game. When Carrick came in and we won the derby, there was a lot of, it's easy to get yourself up for the derby.
The manager's first game.
The tactics are simpler. You just need to defend, and you can hit him on the counter.
And you've got the bonus of just anyone but him in charge.
Yeah,
the players will be so much happier not playing for that manager anymore.
Yeah, and I think that lasted maybe some of the first half.
Yeah.
Not, and the Arsenal scored, Spurs scored straight away, so there was no point. There wasn't a huge amount of frustration building, but I think from a performance perspective, Spurs were atrocious.
Yeah.
And then second half, Arsenal would just sort of stopped playing with their food and just put them to bed.
Yeah. And it 4-1 was not didn't flatter Arsenal like it.
No, I think it
definitely
flatters Spurs a bit.
their goal came from a Declan Rice mistake, which very rarely happens.
Yes.
And then they did get the second equaliser that was given for a foul, which I think was a foul. Some have said it's harsh, but
So the slow motion replay, it really looks like a foul.
yeah, because it looks like he's going to get his head on it, and he gets a nudge in the back.
Yeah, there is one fan camera angle, I don't know if you've seen,
No.
that if you watch it, I think it just makes it look so obviously not a foul.
Right.
I'm going to show you it now.
Okay.
We can watch it live,
Right.
but I have to use your phone because mine's
Right.
busy. I don't think it was a foul at all.
I think it was. I would be annoyed if a team scored that against United, because it doesn't take much when you're going up to jump for a header to knock you off balance, and he's got a little nudge in the back.
Yeah, I think it goes down to one of those where what people say they want is consistency, and there just isn't any consistency about that sort of foul being given.
No,
it's you're not getting a penalty for that if the defender heads it clear.
I've seen that argument. Like, if you don't think it would be a penalty, then you can't think it's a foul. But the bar should be higher for penalties.
What then? Disallowing a goal?
Well,
It wasn't just an innocuous foul in the middle of the pitch. The bar should be higher for penalties than for fouls that don't mean anything. But to disallow a goal, it has to be a proper foul, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it should probably be. Should it be higher for penalties than disallowed goals? I don't know. I've not formed an opinion on that,
No.
but I think that was a foul. But I don't think it would be a penalty. Well, maybe it would be a penalty if a striker was going up to head the ball and he got a nudge in the back. I think maybe that should be a penalty.
Maybe Maybe it should be a penalty. No, but I don't think it would be. But I think Arsenal would have won either way.
Yeah.
I don't think Spurs are holding on at 2-2 because they're just clinically incapable of defending properly.
Yeah, which is what this manager's strengths are, is doing the boring stuff and getting them really fit, and it's not going to be fun playing under him, but you might get a few results.
Yeah, it's an odd one. Apparently, the what's his name, Paratici, who was the director of football, really wanted him, and they didn't get him. They got Frank,
right?
And then he left Paratici, to move back to Italy. And then they sacked the manager, and maybe they just had a scrap of paper that had his name written on it. And they
found this list from the summer. We could get him.
Yeah, but yeah, it's an odd appointment.
Yeah, I don't think you could have given me a lot of guesses before I would have got to him.
Yeah, and one of the criticisms is that he doesn't know the Premier League. I don't know if there's a great candidate who does know the Premier League.
You could say he doesn't know the Premier League, and he doesn't even know Tottenham.
Yeah.
Because that's what a lot of these teams, including United, go for when they're looking for an interim manager, is someone who at least knows the club. Yeah, or maybe knows the Premier League as a player and has become a coach. Like with Carrick, he doesn't have, but he did coach in the Premier League for 2 or 3 years, so he does have a bit. And he's played for United for a long time. Yeah, it's going to be an odd one. They need to realistically pick up like 8 more points or something to stay up. Yeah. And they might be able to do that. Yeah. But it depends on how good Forest are. Yeah. So I am still leaning towards Forest, I think, but I'd love for Spurs to go down. It would just be so incredibly interesting, is what it would be. Yeah. Someone said there was a debate on whether can the Premier League afford for Spurs to go down, because they've built their brand around this big six. Yeah. And someone said, Juventus went down and Serie A survived. And it's like, did it? It was the best league in the world in the 90s, and then Juventus went down, and now they're basically finished. The Serie A, no one watches Serie A. Yeah. Nowhere near as many. It's got back up a bit in the last few years, but for a long time, it was not. Yeah, it took a real hit to watch. I don't think that's likely to happen to the Premier League. I think they would just appoint someone else. There's enough other big clubs in the Premier League to fill that void. Yeah, would it be the big six? Would Villa take Spurs' place in the big six, or would Sky talk about the big five all the time? I don't know. It is weird to think about. Do they still say the big six and just mention with an asterisk? By the way, one of these is in the Championship. Who's got the most goals against the big six this season? I can't think of a Championship striker. Hadji Wright has got a hat trick against Tottenham in the Championship. Yeah. Spurs against Lincoln City as a Friday night game on the first weekend of the season, which will be a week before the Premier League starts. Yeah. What? How many would you get in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium for that? I don't think you'd fill it. No, they probably wouldn't open the top tier for the whole season. Blimey.
So obviously, as maybe I've said before, when I have no real horse in the race, my preferred outcome is whatever's the funniest outcome.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Spurs going down is definitely the funniest outcome.
Yeah.
Just
yeah.
as Arsenal not winning the league is the funniest
It
outcome.
is the funniest outcome.
But I'm not. It's not. That's not my only consideration with the title
yeah.
race, because obviously I don't like City either.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't want Leeds. I would rather Leeds went down, I guess. But Villa or not Villa, West Ham or Forest, I don't care about either of those teams.
I like West Ham, Forest, and Spurs all about the same amount, which is
completely neutral.
yeah. But it would be the funniest for Spurs.
So we'll see.
The City and Arsenal both won this weekend, but it felt like a good weekend for Arsenal, given the nature of their win.
Yeah, and I think they're both, rather than them both sprinting towards the finish line, they're both sort of looking over their shoulder and hobbling towards the finish line, and every win is just like, thank God we didn't drop points.
Closer to the end of the season, and we've got another win.
Yeah, rather than we've got another win, let's move on to the next one. It's like when City, the final whistle went against City, and Newcastle had a couple of good chances towards the end. Just a huge thank God we got through it. We got 3 points.
Haaland collapsed on the floor.
Yeah. And it's interesting to see. It's quite an interesting title race.
The League Cup final, and then they're playing each other 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
Like I say, it's just, I don't really know. I don't think I know which team I want to win the league, but it will just be incredibly interesting and exciting to watch, even if both results are bad. The drama will be entertaining.
And there's always that little thought in the back of my head that thinks, if we'd sacked him 6 months earlier, if we'd have sacked him after Grimsby, all of the things that, all of our advantages this season of everyone playing a ton of games apart from us, they've been true since Grimsby, basically.
Obviously going out in the FA Cup third round, but that would only add a couple of weekends free. That would only add a few games there.
No midweeks. Yeah. So, I don't think we might, but I was going to say I don't think we would be in the title race, but we need to be 12 points better off?
If we got another 6 points,
we'd be
well in the title race.
Yeah.
We're what?
We're 3 behind
13
Villa.
13 points behind Arsenal with the game in hand, are we?
Yeah.
Or are we just 10 points behind them now?
I can check.
I think we are 10 points behind him. No. Hang on. When would our game in hand even be? Why would they have played a game more than us?
I think they have played a game more than us. They played on.
Yes, because they played the Wolves game earlier.
Yeah.
That was preponed. We're 13 points behind Arsenal with a game in hand. So, let's call that 10 points behind. Let's say we win our game in hand. Then if we'd have won 2 more of those games under Amorim,
or
we'd be 4 points off the title. Then we are definitely in a title race.
Yeah. Or even those winning those couple of draws turned into wins.
Yeah.
It's because there's so many times in Premier League history, good half dozen where a team has massively underperformed in a season and been, we're not in Europe next season. We've not got that distraction. We can really kick on. I know Chelsea when they finished 10th and then
won the league.
But there's lots of examples where it doesn't really play out that you have a big advantage because you're not in Europe. And I think we are seeing a little bit of. I think United would have benefited from a couple more games this season because we hadn't played in 13 games, 13 days. We looked a bit rusty, and but I do think we could have really pressed home this advantage, this freshness advantage in a season where nobody is incredible. The teams at the top aren't amazingly better than the teams around them, teams below them. I do think that we could have put something together here.
We'll still use that advantage given that Palace are playing on Thursday and then we play them. Villa will be playing the Thursday before we play them.
Yeah.
Chelsea and Liverpool they're still in the Champions League.
Yeah.
And they may well be playing the midweek before we play them. I don't know.
Yeah, we still have that advantage going forward. But we've had that advantage all season and we wasted a lot of games not using it.
We obviously when Carrick first came in and won the first 2 games or first 3 games, it was
first 4 games.
Yeah, of course. People said if we carry on winning every game, then we could win the league. Maybe we would win the league if we won every game. We've only not won one.
Yeah.
And we drew it.
Yeah.
So it's still as likely as it was. Really, Arsenal have dropped points you wouldn't expect them to drop. So
yeah. We need Arsenal to continue to slip.
Yeah, and City to start slipping a bit more.
Yeah. But 13 points behind with 11 games to go. It's a position we all would have been happy with.
Yeah, when
Carrick came in, not at the start. Well, maybe at the start of the season we would have been happy with this.
Yeah.
You know, no one was. We finished 15th last season. No one was expecting us to challenge for the title.
Yeah,
People
no,
were
I
expecting
think
to see us get better.
Yeah, we would have taken being fourth at this stage in the season.
Absolutely. Should we talk about the Palace game?
Yeah, they won 1-0 against Wolves. It wasn't a great game.
No. I think the belief is a little bit that if the next poor result, he'll go.
Yeah, the fans have had enough of him sort of hanging around the place. He decided he wanted to leave in October.
Yeah.
And then it was announced in January, and he just seems miserable. Seems like he doesn't want to be there, and they are obviously very grateful for what he's done for them. But it's sort of like, we're still building this team for the future, and you're running it into the ground because you don't want to be here. You're miserable in every press conference, slagging off the players and the team. Just go now. If you want to go, we won't.
Yeah. I think, but if you were him, would you not, or even the whole club should be rallying because they can win that Conference League.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be so
He's
massive.
Won the Europa League before. They looking at the other teams in it. There's no reason they couldn't win
the
it.
Premier League team should always win the Conference League, basically.
Spurs are nearly going down, and they came fourth in the Champions League table. So Palace can definitely win the Conference League.
And that should be motivation enough. Obviously, he wasn't happy with the recruitment. I don't think the fans are particularly happy with the recruitment. Their the halcyon days under Dougie Friedman are a long way behind, a long way off. But they've got a good enough squad to not lose every single week in the Premier League.
Yeah.
They lost Eze and Elise, obviously, from the peak of the Palace project. And Mateta's injured, but they've got other good players, and they should absolutely be playing better than they are.
And they're in this the Conference League playoff against this team from Bosnia, whose name I've forgotten, because they didn't beat Coops, Estonia, at home on the last group game.
Yeah.
That's how they've gone into this playoff. So they're not setting the world alight in the Conference League so far. So they probably think, even though he's had success in Europe before, we'd be better off with a new manager or an interim manager, because he's not using experience. We're not doing all in the conference. And if they go out against, I've forgotten their name.
Hang on, I
think it starts with L. I'm not very up to date with the Bosnian table.
I'm gonna say Zrinci.
Okay, how are you spelling that? Yeah,
Zrinci.
Yeah.
And they are Bosnian.
Yeah, I know they're Bosnian. So if they don't win that, they'll really regret hanging on to this manager, probably, who's not getting the best out of the players in the slightest. Who doesn't seem to want to get the best out of the players.
Yeah, but you have to imagine that the lack of credible replacement is what's keeping him in the job, right? If they had someone lined up or someone they thought they would come in and get them over the line this season,
I
might
think
pull the
a lot
trigger.
of the fans would say Postecoglou could win them the Conference League.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's.
Is he not? He's got his fingers burnt by Forest.
Yeah. He certainly didn't get them very far in the Europa League because he didn't have time.
Could Frank win them the Conference League?
Well, I mean, maybe.
We don't really know what Thomas Frank
really
is anymore.
Bad form. They're doing terribly. I think they would get a lift from anyone else being the manager.
Probably. So,
and he's going anyway. So if he hadn't announced he was leaving, his job would be under threat from how bad their form is and how they have underperformed in the Conference League.
Has his behaviour taken him out of the running for the United job?
I think so. I think Palace's form and the whole circus around it and his behaviour regarding his departure. Yeah, I don't think he'll be like he seemed a few months ago.
Nailed
when
on.
We weren't sacking Amorim.
Yeah.
But we still talked about the possibility anyway. It seemed like he would be absolutely someone that the big teams would go for.
Yeah.
But I don't think United will be particularly interested in him now.
No, I don't think so. I think maybe someone like a Spurs, someone who's a little
but
bit more desperate.
Would they want a completely different kind of appointment after Frank?
Yeah, maybe. I just think
more of an unknown quantity, maybe.
Yeah. But I think he has probably he's not adding a lot to his pros column, and his cons column is getting longer and longer.
Yeah.
And being the manager at a big club is it's sort of almost a political appointment. You have to mind what you say, and you have to play the game to a degree.
Yeah.
And some people would argue that shouldn't be the case, but
and you're gonna
always
get it wrong.
will be.
You're gonna say the wrong thing when you're doing 5 press conferences a week.
Yeah.
If they're playing in Europe and on the weekend, that's pre-match, post-match for both of those games, and you have to do a load of other media interviews.
Yeah, you'll end up doing.
Sometimes you're gonna say things that come out wrong, but he seems to not care at
No.
this point. He seems checked out.
Yeah, I do think they will favour someone with big club experience. But it's another game we're massively expected to win, and we should win.
Yeah, I think any team going into playing Palace at home at the minute should be thinking we've got to get 3 points here.
Yeah,
and it's a sort of every game for Carrick is an audition and another test, a different kind of test, and we should be winning comfortably, more so than Fulham at home.
Yeah.
So, we'll see how we get on, but I'm feeling good about it, and it'll be a big negative for Carrick if we don't win this game.
Yeah, it's good to be excited to go to Old Trafford.
It is, yeah.
I was obviously excited to go to Old Trafford for the Fulham game and the Spurs game because we were in good form. There was a chance that if we'd drawn both of these games or lost one of them, that the shine would have dulled slightly. But I think because we've only had good results at home, we can turn up. We'll be confident, and
until that changes.
There's no reason not to be. Who's going?
Me and you, I think.
Okay, that's fine by me.
I know I'm going. I've not been to the last few.
Yeah. We have a spreadsheet. I filled in my bit and all the bits that I knew, but no one else filled in anything on the spreadsheet. I
got kicked out. I used up all my Google storage, so it wouldn't let me edit it.
No, okay. Well, I can download it
back to you
and put it on mine. Because at the moment, I've been to like 10 games, and everyone else has been to 4. But that's because I'm the only one who's filled in the list. Yeah. Also, I have been to loads of games this season.
Yeah. But me and you have been to quite a few.
Yeah.
I'll update it if I can get rid of some stuff. Yeah.
But yeah, it should be a good game.
Yeah.
Decent kick-off, 2:00 on a Sunday.
It's
not the end of the world.
It's been a lot brighter today. It's been a lot more mild as well. So it'd be nice to not be absolutely freezing. I don't know.
It would be.
Time would have been probably September. Last time going to a game and not being freezing cold. So that'd be nice.
Yeah, it would be. There's every chance that the weather turns by Sunday when we freeze. But I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. We'll be back next Monday. We're playing next Wednesday as well, aren't we? Newcastle.
Yes.
Away. That'll be a tough game, but we'll talk about that next week
in
the wake of the Crystal Palace victory. So thanks everyone for listening. Keep coming back every week, every Wednesday, roughly.
Yeah.
Give or take. We'll be back next week. We're not going anywhere, so keep it locked. Make sure you subscribe. We hope to be double figures by next week.
Yeah.
And thanks for listening, and we'll see you out there.